The galaxy was tired of wars. Every star system had seen battles, treaties, and betrayals. Diplomacy was always the first step, but it never lasted. Empires argued, coalitions fought, and the weak suffered while the strong pretended to keep peace. For centuries, the galaxy thought it had seen everything, every weapon, every strategy, every trick. But that was before humanity arrived. When humans joined the Council of Species, most powers thought they were small and unimportant. The great empires laughed at Earth's representatives. The humans spoke calmly, trying to make peace where others only made threats. For years, humanity tried diplomacy, tried to build bridges, tried to stop wars before they began. They were patient, too patient. But patience has limits. The breaking point came in a council chamber orbiting the twin suns of Taylor Prime. A treaty was being discussed, one that would stop the endless border raids between two mighty empires. Humanity offered to mediate, hoping to save thousands of lives. The human diplomat, calm and steady, presented fair terms. But instead of listening, the alien leaders mocked him. They called humans soft, naive, and childlike in war. One even laughed and said, "The day humans lead in war is the day stars burn cold." The insult was broadcast across the galaxy. Billions heard it. And for the first time, the calm mask of humanity began to crack. The humans withdrew. Their diplomat stood, bowed once, and said only one sentence before leaving, "If diplomacy fails, we will send something else." The words spread like fire. What did he mean? What would humans send? The other species whispered, but most dismissed it as empty talk. After all, humans were young, new to the stars, untested in real galactic war. Then came the border massacre. One of the empires, bold and arrogant, attacked a human colony near the edge of neutral space. They expected no resistance, only another easy conquest. But they did not understand what kind of line they had crossed. More than 10,000 civilians were lost, families erased, children killed in fire. Humanity sent envoys, demanded justice, begged the council to act. Once again, diplomacy was ignored. Once again, the galaxy laughed. That was the moment everything changed. When diplomacy failed, humanity did not argue again. They did not send more words. They sent a ship. It appeared without warning near the borders of the hostile empire. It was not like other warships the galaxy knew. It was massive, black, and silent, its hull swallowing light like a shadow in space. No one had seen such design before. The ship carried no name on its surface, but humans called it one word, retribution. At first, the enemy thought it was only one ship. They laughed again. What could one vessel do against fleets of hundreds? They sent a squadron to intercept. Moments later, those ships were gone. No wreckage, no escape pods, just silence and drifting fragments. The Empire panicked and sent a fleet this time, 50 ships strong, their finest war machines. The black human battleship moved through them like a ghost. Its weapons did not fire beams of light or glowing missiles. Instead, it used strange bursts of energy, invisible until they struck. Ships simply broke apart, shields melted, hulls split like paper. In less than an hour, 50 ships were erased. News of the massacre spread faster than any council broadcast. The galaxy that once laughed now grew silent. Everyone had the same question: how could humans build something like this? Some whispered that the battleship was not new. They said humans had always kept it hidden, waiting for the day when words would no longer matter. Others said it was only the first, that Earth had more of these monsters in secret shipyards. Nobody knew the truth, and humans gave no answers. The empire that had destroyed the human colony begged for peace now. But humanity did not answer them either. The black ship kept moving deeper into their territory, one star system after another. And everywhere it went, the galaxy watched. From the council chambers to the smallest colonies, every race tuned their broadcasts to see if the humans would stop, if they would accept surrender. But the ship did not stop. Humanity had been mocked, ignored, and underestimated for too long. Now the galaxy was learning what humans meant when they said, "We will send something else." The silence of the battleship was worse than words. No demands, no messages, no signals. It simply advanced, crushing fleets, erasing defenses, unstoppable. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy trembled, not from diplomacy, not from politics, but from the shadow of one human ship. And deep in the dark, commanders of other empires whispered to each other in fear. If this is what one ship can do, what happens when humanity sends more? The galaxy was not silent for long. The destruction of an entire fleet by a single human battleship sent shock through every star system. The black ship, Retribution, was no longer just a rumor, it was real. Every council broadcast, every private channel, every whisper in dim-lit bars spoke the same words: the humans have sent their monster. At first, many species tried to deny it. Some claimed it was exaggerated news, a trick of propaganda. How could one ship defeat 50 warships without even taking damage? But as more fleets vanished, and more systems fell under the shadow of Retribution, denial faded into fear. The empire that had destroyed the human colony, the Zuran Dominion, was now bleeding. Their commanders tried to send fleets in waves, hoping sheer numbers could overwhelm the black ship. But nothing worked. The humans had unleashed something the galaxy had never seen before. The Zuran homeworld shook with panic. Their war council sat in silence around a glowing table, eyes fixed on the last transmission they had received from their fleet. A grainy image showed the black battleship gliding through space, its weapons firing once, just once, and tearing apart a Zuran dreadnought like it was made of glass. Then the transmission ended in static. One commander slammed his claws against the table. It is impossible. No single vessel can do this. They must have fleets hidden, cloaked nearby. But the Emperor of the Zuran knew better. His eyes were dark, his voice low. The humans warned us. They said if diplomacy failed, they would send something else. This is what they meant. The Zuran had mocked the humans for being weak. Now, those words echoed back at them like curses. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, other empires watched carefully. The Veskari Alliance, who once dismissed humans as harmless, now studied every broadcast of the Retribution's battles. Their scientists tried to measure the strange energy bursts the ship used. Their generals argued whether it was some new form of kinetic weapon or something even worse. But no one had answers. The humans were silent. Not a single transmission came from the Retribution. No demands. No warnings. Only the trail of destruction left behind. This silence frightened the galaxy more than words could. On the human side, the mood was very different. Earth's High Command had released no public statements, but soldiers and officers whispered to each other in pride. Finally, the galaxy would see humanity's strength. For too long they had been laughed at, ignored, pushed aside in council meetings. Now they would not be mocked again. Yet not all humans felt the same. In the quiet corridors of a hidden base on Luna, a young officer named Captain Alara Hayes stood watching the reports. She had served in the diplomatic corps once, believed in peace, believed in words. She had watched her own colony fall to Zuran fire. Her family had been there. Now, she watched Retribution burn through enemy fleets, and she felt both pride and fear. Pride, because humanity had shown it would not bow to cruelty. Fear, because she knew what endless vengeance could do. The ship was unstoppable. But would humanity stop it? The Zuran Dominion tried one last desperate gamble. They gathered their greatest fleet, 200 warships, dreadnoughts, and carriers, near their core worlds. The fleet stretched across space like a wall of steel. They would not run anymore. They would break the human battleship here, or die trying. The galaxy held its breath. Billions tuned into live feeds. Even those who hated the Zuran wanted to see what would happen. Was humanity's monster truly invincible? The battle began. Retribution appeared at the edge of the system, sliding into real space like a shadow pulled from the dark. The Zuran opened fire immediately. Hundreds of energy beams, missiles, and plasma cannons filled the void, lighting the blackness with burning color. It was enough firepower to level moons. But when the light faded, the battleship was still there, unharmed. Then it moved. Its strange weapons pulsed once, twice, 3 times. Entire squadrons of Zuran ships fell apart, vanishing into drifting fire. The Zuran panicked, breaking formation, but the black ship kept advancing, steady as a predator. One Zuran dreadnought tried to ram the battleship. For a moment, it looked as if it would strike. But before it even touched, Retribution shifted, a wave of energy blasting outward. The dreadnought shattered into fragments without a sound. The fleet fought for hours, but nothing mattered. No weapon touched the black hull. No trap worked. No numbers made a difference. By the end, 200 Zuran ships were gone. And Retribution still moved forward, untouched, toward the Zuran homeworld. Across the galaxy, silence reigned. No one had seen such power before. Some races began to fear that humanity had not revealed its full strength yet. If this was just one ship, how many more waited in secret? The council gathered in emergency session. Leaders of dozens of species argued, shouting, panicking. Some demanded humanity be stopped before it was too late. Others said humanity must be appeased, given whatever it wanted. But no one knew what humans wanted. The humans said nothing. The black ship just kept advancing. On the Zuran homeworld, the Emperor gave his final orders. His armies prepared planetary defenses, knowing they would not matter. Civilian ships tried to flee, but Retribution was already there. The black ship appeared above their skies, blotting out their suns. And still, it did not speak. It fired once. Planetary shields cracked. Cities burned. Entire continents vanished under firestorms. For the first time in thousands of years, the Zuran Dominion began to collapse. In the darkness of space, Captain Alara Hayes sat alone in her quarters aboard a smaller human vessel, far from the battleship. She closed her eyes and whispered to herself, "Is this justice, or something worse?" Her words echoed in the silence, unanswered. Because now the galaxy feared something greater than the Zuran. Now the galaxy feared the humans. The Zuran Dominion was broken. Their fleets were gone. Their cities were ash. Their proud empire, which had once terrified neighbors, was now silent rubble under the shadow of the human battleship. But while the Zuran burned, the rest of the galaxy trembled. For centuries, no single empire had been able to dominate the stars. Balance had always been maintained through diplomacy, threats, and fragile treaties. No one race was strong enough to crush all others. Until now. Humanity had changed everything. The council chamber on Taylor Prime, once filled with laughter at human speeches, was now heavy with fear. Holograms of dozens of alien leaders flickered across the room. Voices shouted over each other. "They will not stop with the Zuran," one reptilian general hissed. "This battleship will move against all of us." "Perhaps they only wanted revenge," said another, his tone cautious. "Perhaps once the Zuran are erased, the humans will put the ship away." "Do you believe that?" a third snarled. "They showed us their monster. Do you think they built only one?" The room erupted in panic. Some demanded alliance with humanity, others called for war against them, and some whispered the most dangerous thought of all. Perhaps the galaxy should bend the knee before Earth, before the humans force it anyway. While the council argued, the Retribution drifted silently above the Zuran homeworld. Smoke still rose from broken cities. Whole continents glowed faint red from the firestorms. Billions had died, and still the ship did not move away. It stayed, dark and quiet, like a warning written across the stars. The Zuran Emperor, his palace in ruins, sent desperate messages begging for mercy. No reply came. 4 days, the black ship remained in orbit, watching. Then, one day, it left. It slipped into the void without a word, vanishing as suddenly as it had come. The Zuran Empire was gone, its homeworld crippled. The galaxy expected a declaration from Earth, some demand for power or territory. But nothing came. The humans stayed silent. And that silence was worse than war. On Earth, crowds gathered in every city. They cheered for the retribution, for the vengeance against the Zuran who had massacred a human colony. But deep in the war councils, the leaders argued. Some wanted to keep the battleship hidden again, to show restraint. Others wanted to use it as a weapon of dominance, to make sure no alien empire ever touched humanity again. The Retribution's commander, Admiral Marcus Vale, said nothing. He was a man of few words, cold and sharp. His orders had been clear: strike until the Zuran were broken, then wait. He followed orders. Nothing more. Nothing less. But others began to wonder, what if Admiral Vale had his own plans? What if he saw himself not just as a commander, but as the one man who could shape the future of humanity in the stars? The galaxy did not rest. In the cold nebulae of the Veskari Alliance, their warlords gathered in secret. Maps and star charts filled their chamber. One of them pointed a claw at Earth's territory. If we wait, they will grow stronger. If we wait, more of these black ships will come. We must strike now, while they still have only one. But we do not know if they have only one, another whispered. What if they have 10? What if they have 100? Fear twisted their arguments, but ambition whispered louder. The Zuran had fallen. Their worlds were unclaimed. Resources, starports, and fleets lay waiting to be taken. The Veskari decided. They would move their armies to seize what was left of Zuran space. They would take the carcass of the dead empire before humanity claimed it. They thought the retribution had left for good. They were wrong. Weeks later, a Veskari fleet arrived in Zuran space. Hundreds of ships spread out across the broken systems, deploying troops to strip worlds bare. Their warlords grinned, believing the spoils were theirs. Then, the Black Shadow appeared. Retribution slid out of the void, silent, waiting. The Veskari froze. No weapons fired. No orders came. The battleship did not move, yet. Then, in a single burst, it destroyed the lead Veskari dreadnought. The rest of the fleet panicked. Some tried to fight. Some tried to run. But no one escaped. When the battle ended, only wreckage remained, floating cold in the silence of space. And still, the retribution said nothing. No message, no warning. It simply returned to the Zuran system and resumed its silent vigil. This was worse than any threat humanity could have spoken. The message was clear, even without words: this space belongs to us now. The galaxy was stunned. The Zuran were gone, and now their territory was forbidden ground. Not because Earth had claimed it openly, but because everyone knew what happened to those who tried to take it. The Council began to fracture. Some species argued that they should unite and destroy the retribution before it was too late. Others argued that they should ally with humanity, offering tribute, trade, and loyalty. And some, the most fearful of all, began to consider surrender without a fight. The balance of power was collapsing. Far from the chaos, Captain Alara Hayes stood aboard a smaller Earth ship patrolling near the border. She had lost family in the Zuran massacre, yet she still felt uneasy about what was happening. One night, she spoke quietly with her friend, Lieutenant Cade Rowan. "This isn't justice anymore," she whispered. "This is fear. Everyone is afraid of us now. Even allies. Even those who never harmed us." Cade shook his head. "Good. Let them fear. No one will ever dare touch Earth again. That ship has saved us all." Ilara looked at the stars, her eyes hard. "Or cursed us all." In hidden corners of the galaxy, conspiracies grew. The Veskari had been destroyed, but not everyone was afraid. The Kalari Union, masters of espionage, began searching for the truth of the battleship. They sent spies into human space. They hacked transmissions. They hunted whispers. What they learned shocked them. The retribution was not a fleet. It was not a secret army of ships. It was one. Only one. But it was enough to terrify the stars. The Kalari decided. If they could steal its secrets, they would become the most powerful empire in history. They would not fight the battleship, they would capture it. Meanwhile, Admiral Marcus Vale sat in his dark command chamber aboard Retribution. The screens around him glowed faintly with endless streams of data. His officers moved in silence, trained to obey without question. Vale leaned forward, watching as reports of fear spread across the galaxy. Alien empires breaking treaties. Armies shifting. Leaders trembling. And slowly, a small smile touched his lips. "This is only the beginning," he whispered. No one heard him. No one but the ship. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy had no idea what tomorrow would bring. Diplomacy had failed. War had failed. Now, one battleship drifted silently in the dark, reshaping the stars without speaking a word. And the question burned in every mind, from the smallest colony to the grandest empire. If this is what humanity does with one ship, what happens when they send more? The Kalari Union was patient. While other empires panicked and argued about humanity, the Kalari worked in silence. They were not warriors like the Zuran. They were not brutes like the Veskari. The Kalari were spies, thieves, masters of secrets. And in their minds, every weapon could be stolen. Even the human battleship. They studied the retribution from a distance. Every battle was recorded, every movement analyzed. The ship's black hull swallowed light, its weapons invisible until they struck. No one knew how it worked. No one knew what powered it. The Kalari Council believed if they could capture its secrets, they could build their own fleet of shadows. The galaxy would bow to them, not humanity. And so, they prepared a mission. In a hidden base orbiting a dead star, 10 of the Union's best infiltrators gathered. They were called the Silent Fangs. Each had been trained to vanish in plain sight, to walk unseen, to kill without sound. Their leader, Agent Vera, was calm and cold, her eyes sharp like knives. She looked at her team and spoke simply. "We are not here to fight the battleship. We are here to learn. Find its weakness. Find its heart. And then the Union will control the future of the stars." Her team bowed their heads in silence. They were ready. Their plan was daring. They would not attack the retribution directly. That was suicide. Instead, they would slip into human space quietly, hide among civilians, and find the shipyards where humanity built their weapons. If they could not take the battleship, they would at least steal the knowledge that created it. So, the Silent Fangs began their journey. They crossed borders disguised as traders. They bribed human dock workers. They slipped through shadows on orbital stations, listening, watching, waiting. And slowly, piece by piece, they uncovered something strange. The humans had only one battleship. The Retribution was not part of a fleet. It was not one of many. It was the only one. The Kalari agents were stunned. Could one ship truly terrify the galaxy so deeply? Could one ship break empires? If so, then whoever controlled that ship would hold the galaxy in their hands. Agent Vera reported her findings back to the Kalari Council. "The humans guard their shipyards, but we have confirmed it. They are not building more. The Retribution is unique." The Council sat in silence, their long fingers tapping nervously against the table. "Unique," one finally whispered. "Then we must take it. We must have it for ourselves." The decision was made. The Silent Fangs would infiltrate the battleship itself. It was madness. Every spy knew that stepping aboard the Retribution was death. No alien had ever been close to it. Its dark hull gave no readings. Its crew never spoke. But the Kalari believed in shadows, and shadows gave them courage. They tracked the battleship as it drifted above the broken Zuran worlds. It did not move often. It did not chase. It simply waited, watching. And one night, hidden behind the corpse of a Zuran moon, a small Kalari stealth craft slipped close. It latched onto the battleship's surface like an insect clinging to a beast. The Silent Fangs prepared to enter. The hull was strange. It was not metal, not stone, not anything they knew. It seemed alive, pulsing faintly under their hands, as if the ship itself was breathing. Agent Vera frowned but said nothing. She cut through with a tool, and the team slipped inside. The corridors were dark. No lights, no sound. Just endless black walls that swallowed their footsteps. "Where is the crew?" one whispered. No answer came. They moved deeper, weapons ready. Every hallway looked the same. Every turn led to silence. It felt less like a ship and more like a tomb. Then they heard it. A low hum. A vibration through the walls, like a heartbeat. The Kalari froze. None of their scanners worked. Their equipment gave only static. It was as if the battleship rejected their technology. Agent Vera pressed forward. "We find the core," she whispered. "We take its secret." They moved toward the hum. At the center of the ship, they found a chamber. It glowed faintly, casting shadows across their faces. And there, suspended in the air, was something none of them expected. A human. Or something that looked human. It floated in a transparent capsule, eyes closed, body unmoving. Tubes and wires connected its skin to the walls. The hum came from the capsule, like a steady pulse. The Kalari stared, frozen. "Is that the pilot?" one whispered. Agent Vera stepped closer. The human's chest rose and fell slowly, like it was sleeping. "No," she said softly. "This is not a pilot. This is the heart of the ship." The realization chilled them. The battleship was not just a machine. It was alive. And it was bound to the human inside. The silent fangs had found the secret. But before they could act, the chamber's walls lit up. The hum grew louder. The capsule glowed. The human's eyes opened. They were not like ordinary eyes. They were pale, glowing faint white, like stars in a void. The Kalari froze. They could not move. Their bodies felt heavy, crushed by invisible weight. The floating human looked at them, expressionless. Then, a voice filled their minds. "You should not be here." The words were not spoken aloud. They echoed inside their skulls, cold and sharp. One of the spies tried to raise his weapon. In an instant, his body twisted unnaturally, bones snapping without a sound. He fell, lifeless. The others panicked. The floating figure's gaze never changed. "You think this ship is a weapon. You are wrong. This ship is a cage." The Kalari did not understand. They tried to run, but the corridors shifted. Doors closed. Paths twisted. The battleship itself trapped them. One by one, screams echoed, cut short by silence. Only Agent Vera remained, trembling before the glowing eyes. What are you?" she whispered. The figure stared. "I am the reason your galaxy will never be free. And the humans are the only ones who can hold me." The capsule glowed brighter. Vera screamed as the darkness swallowed her. The next day, the Kalari stealth craft drifted away from the battleship, empty. No life signs. No trace of the silent fangs. The galaxy never heard from them again. But whispers spread. Some said the Kalari spies had stolen the secret of the retribution. Some said they had vanished into the void. And some, the most fearful of all, claimed they had awoken something inside the battleship that was never meant to be touched. Far away, Captain Alara Hayes received fragments of reports. She read the words Kalari infiltration attempt and no survivors. But the details were hidden, locked by high command. She stared at the file for hours, unease heavy in her chest. "What is on that ship?" she whispered. And somewhere, deep inside the dark heart of retribution, the glowing eyes opened once more. The Kalari spies never returned. Their stealth ship floated empty, drifting in silence. No bodies, no data, no signs of a struggle. It was as if they had simply vanished. But the galaxy noticed. Everyone knew the Kalari Union had sent their best agents to uncover the secret of the human battleship. If even they had failed, then what chance did anyone else have? Whispers spread fast. Some said the retribution had consumed the spies. Some claimed the humans captured and executed them. And others, the most fearful, said the spies had found something, and were erased because of it. Whatever the truth, one fact was clear: no one could touch the battleship. On Earth, the leaders of humanity gathered in secret. The great halls of the United Earth Command glowed with screens, showing every council transmission, every fleet movement across the stars. The Zuran Dominion was gone. The Veskari had been crushed. And now, the Kalari had vanished. But instead of celebrating, the room was tense. Admiral Marcus Vale, commander of the Retribution, stood before them. His face was hard, his eyes colder than steel. "The galaxy fears us," he said simply. "They should. Fear is the only language they understand." A senator leaned forward, frowning. "But Admiral, we never ordered you to hold Zuran space. You were to punish them, not claim their territory." Vale's jaw tightened. "Territory is not the point. Fear is the point. If we release them, they will rise again. If we keep them down, humanity stands untouchable." The leaders argued, voices rising. Some supported Vale. Others feared him. They had built the retribution as a weapon of last resort. But now, it was more than a weapon. It was a shadow that bent the galaxy's will. And the question none of them dared ask aloud burned in their minds: did Admiral Vale still follow orders? Or was he following something else? Meanwhile, on the battleship itself, strange things were happening. Crew members whispered about shadows moving through corridors when no one was there. Systems flickered without cause. Doors sealed on their own. Some swore they heard voices at night, whispers in languages they did not know. One technician vanished while repairing a power conduit. His tools were found on the floor. His body was never seen again. The crew grew restless. Some begged to be transferred off the ship. But Admiral Vale refused. "This ship is humanity's future," he told them coldly. "If you cannot bear it, then you are not worthy to serve on it." The crew obeyed. But fear spread. Captain Elara Hayes was among the few who began asking questions. She had not set foot on the Retribution, but she saw the reports, hidden documents, casualty lists with vague explanations. She knew something was wrong. She met secretly with Lieutenant Cade Rowan in a quiet corner of a patrol station. "Elara, you should stop digging," Cade warned. "This isn't just about a ship anymore. High Command doesn't even have full control of it. Vale answers to no one." Elara frowned. "Then who does he answer to?" Cade's voice dropped. "Some say, the ship itself." Elara froze. Cade leaned closer. "Think about it. They built only one battleship. Why? If humans can make such power, why not 10? Why not 100? Maybe they can't. Maybe the Retribution wasn't built, it was found." The words chilled her. Found? From where? In the far reaches of the galaxy, the other empires grew desperate. The Kalari Union called a secret council of their own. The Drakari swarm, the Veskari remnants, even smaller powers joined. One insectoid leader hissed, "If we do nothing, humans will rule us all. We must act before it is too late." "But how?" Another spat. "Fleets cannot stop that ship. Spies cannot touch it. Even assassins fail." The Kalari whispered a different idea. "If we cannot destroy the ship," their spy master said softly, "then perhaps we can destroy its master." The room fell silent. They did not speak of the ship. They spoke of Admiral Marcus Vale. As the conspiracies spread, the Retribution drifted above Zuran space, watching as if it owned the dead empire. Its presence alone was enough to freeze every nearby world in fear. Admiral Vale sat in his command chamber, eyes locked on the stars. He had not slept in days, but he felt no weakness. The ship kept him awake. The ship whispered to him. Sometimes, when the corridors were silent, he thought he saw shadows moving just beyond his vision. He heard voices in his mind, calm, steady, promising more power. And he listened. Because the voices did not speak of Earth. They spoke of destiny. On Earth, Captain Elara Hayes tried to uncover more. She requested access to the Retribution's design files. Denied. She requested crew interviews. Denied. Every door she pushed against was locked. But one night, an anonymous message appeared on her console. "If you want the truth, come to the old lunar archives. Alone." Elara knew it was a trap. But she also knew she had no choice. She slipped away in silence. The lunar archives were abandoned, dusty halls of old data. She moved carefully, flashlight cutting through the dark. Then she saw him, an old engineer, his face tired, his hand shaking. "You're looking for answers," he rasped. "I was there, when they built it." Elara's breath caught. "The Retribution." The old man nodded. "No. When they found it." Her heart pounded. He coughed, voice trembling. "It was buried, deep under Europa's ice. A relic. Not ours. We dug it up, piece by piece. We thought we could control it. Thought we could make it ours." Elara's blood ran cold. The old man's eyes glistened with fear. "The ship isn't human. It's older. Much older. And it's not a weapon. It's a prison." Before Elara could ask more, the lights went out. The old man screamed, cut off suddenly. When the lights returned, his body lay still on the floor, throat crushed. Elara spun, weapon ready, but no one was there. Only shadows moving across the walls, then vanishing. Her hands shook as she whispered into the empty air. "What have we unleashed?" The galaxy did not know the truth. They only knew one thing. Humanity had a weapon no one could resist. And while empires plotted, while spies vanished, while whispers spread, the Retribution drifted quietly, like a predator waiting in the dark. But inside, behind its black hull, something ancient was stirring. Something that was never meant to wake. And Admiral Vale, listening to the whispers, was no longer sure if he commanded the ship, or if the ship commanded him. The galaxy was breaking. The Zuran were gone. The Veskari were shattered. The Kalari spies had vanished without a trace. And still the black battleship remained, silent and watching. The Retribution had become more than a weapon. It had become a shadow across every star, a ghost that haunted every empire. But now, whispers turned into plans. If the battleship could not be destroyed, then the man who commanded it could. Admiral Marcus Vale rarely left his ship. He trusted no one, answered to no one. His crew obeyed him without question, but even they whispered in fear of him. His eyes seemed colder now, his voice sharper. Some swore he spoke to himself when no one was around, answering voices no one else could hear. The galaxy's empires saw opportunity. They could not face the battleship in battle. But perhaps they could kill the man at its heart. The Kalari Union, the Drakari Swarm, and others joined together in secret. From their shadows, they shaped a plan. Not a fleet, not an army, an assassin. One killer, chosen from the deadliest across the stars, trained in silence, armed with weapons no human had ever seen. He was called Sereth, a name spoken like a curse. He had ended kings, emperors, even entire bloodlines. And now, his mission was clear: kill Marcus Vale. The assassin came in quiet. A stolen freighter. A forged identity. He slipped into human space like smoke. The humans never saw him. One night, as Retribution drifted near the ruins of Zuran space, Sereth moved. His freighter clung to the battleship's hull. He cut through the black surface with tools no scanner could detect. And slowly, like a shadow within shadows, he entered. The corridors were empty. Silent. Too silent. Sereth moved carefully, blades hidden in his sleeves, poisons on his belt. His mind was calm. He had killed men harder than this. He had walked through fire and never left a trace. This would be no different. But the deeper he walked, the more his calm began to slip. The walls felt alive. They pulsed faintly, as though blood ran through them. And the air, it whispered. Words too soft to hear, like voices just beyond his mind. Sereth ignored it. He pressed on, hunting the Admiral. At the same time, Captain Alara Hayes was on a different path. She had not forgotten the old man's words in the lunar archives, the truth that the battleship was not built, but found. That it was not a weapon, but a prison. She filed reports, begged her superiors to listen. Every report came back marked the same: classified. Access denied. Frustrated, she began gathering her own evidence. Small pieces. Crew reports from the Retribution. Disappearances. Unexplained malfunctions. And one line that froze her blood. The Admiral is changing. Alara knew something terrible was coming. And she knew no one would stop it, except her. Inside the Retribution, Sereth finally found the Admiral. Marcus Vale sat alone in his command chamber, staring into the stars. His back was turned, his hands resting calmly on the chair's arms. Sereth drew a blade coated in poison strong enough to kill a beast the size of a starship. He moved silently, step by step, until he was behind the Admiral. But just as he raised the blade, Vale spoke. "I was wondering when they would send you." Sereth froze. The Admiral had not moved. His voice was calm, steady. "You've come far," Vale continued. "But you made a mistake." The assassin's blade trembled in his hand. "And what mistake is that?" he hissed. Vale turned his head slightly. His eyes glowed faint white, like stars burning behind flesh. "You thought I was still human." Before Sereth could strike, the walls shifted. Black tendrils shot out, wrapping around his arms and legs, pulling him into the air. He struggled, cursed, fought, but the more he resisted, the tighter they held. Vale stood, his gaze cold. "The ship does not serve me," he said softly. "I serve the ship." The tendrils tightened. The assassin screamed. Bones cracked, blood spilled. Then, silence. The walls absorbed what was left. Not even ash remained. Vale sat back down, his eyes glowing faintly in the dark. "They will send more," he whispered to the shadows. "Let them come." The ship hummed, answering him like a living thing. Back on Earth, Captain Alara Hayes received news of a failed assassination attempt. No details, only silence. But she knew. She felt it in her bones. The Admiral could not be touched. Not by fleets. Not by spies. Not by assassins. And worse, she feared he no longer wanted to protect humanity. What if he wanted something else? The galaxy was in chaos. The Kalari Union denied involvement in the assassination, but everyone knew. The Drakari swarm accused them anyway, starting border wars. The Veskari remnants tried to rally fleets, but none dared move near Zuran space. And through it all, the Retribution watched. No words. No threats. Only silence. But silence had become the loudest weapon of all. Ilara dug deeper. She found fragments of files buried in old human archives, pieces that had escaped deletion. She pieced them together slowly, carefully, until the truth began to form. The battleship had not been discovered recently. It had been found centuries ago, before humanity even had interstellar flight. Deep under Europa's ice, buried in a forgotten age, humans had stumbled upon it. At first, they thought it was only debris, an ancient wreck. But when they touched it, when they tried to study it, the ship responded. It spoke. Ilara's hands trembled as she read the last line in the old file. "This vessel is not a weapon. It is a seal. If it is awakened, the prison will break." She closed the file, her face pale. The ship was not humanity's weapon. It was something else's cage. On the Retribution, Admiral Vale stared at the stars, his glowing eyes unblinking. His crew no longer questioned him. They followed silently, shadows moving through shadows. Some said the crew themselves were changing, their eyes colder, their voices softer, as if the ship was reshaping them. And deep inside, in the glowing chamber at the core, the figure in the capsule stirred. Its pale eyes opened once more. The voice whispered across the ship, across Vale's mind. "Soon." The galaxy thought the battleship was humanity's strength. But now, the galaxy feared something far worse. Not the humans. Not the Admiral. But the thing inside the ship, waiting to be free. The galaxy thought it had seen fear. Armadas shattered. Empires burned. Assassins vanished without a trace. But none of that compared to the silence that came next. The Retribution no longer hunted. It no longer fired. It only waited. And when a predator waits, the wise know it is not sleeping. It is preparing. Admiral Marcus Vale stood on the bridge of the battleship, his crew silent around him. His eyes glowed faintly, like cold stars trapped in a human skull. He no longer needed to speak commands. The ship obeyed him, or perhaps he obeyed it. Reports came from across the stars. Wars had broken out between the Kalari and the Drakari. The Veskari remnants fled deeper into the void. The Zuran ruins burned, still untouched, still avoided like a graveyard cursed. And yet, all feared one thing, not each other, but the human ship watching from the dark. Vale whispered to the glass before him. Not words. Not orders. Only whispers. The crew pretended not to hear, but every man and woman aboard felt the truth. Their admiral was no longer alone. Something was speaking back. On Earth, Captain Alara Hayes sat in the shadows of an abandoned archive room. She read the same lines over and over. "This vessel is not a weapon. It is a seal. If it is awakened, the prison will break." Her hands trembled. She tried to report it. Command silenced her. Tried again. Her report was buried. She pushed harder, demanded an audience. The response was clear, stand down. But she would not. If the galaxy knew, they might unite. But if they did not, then when the seal finally cracked, nothing could stop it. Ilara stared at the flickering screen, her heart pounding. She had to make a choice, obey orders, or betray everything to warn the galaxy. For her, the choice was already made. Far away, in the darkness of the Retribution's core, the capsule pulsed again. A faint glow, soft at first, then brighter. The figure inside was still, its eyes closed, but the walls around it shifted. They bent like flesh, beating like a heart. And then a whisper filled the ship. Almost. Every light flickered. Crew members froze in place. Some clutched their heads, screaming at voices only they could hear. Vale did not scream. He only closed his eyes and whispered back, "I am ready." The galaxy began to notice. Ships on the edges of Zuran space reported strange signals. Not radio, not quantum pulses, but whispers. Entire crews claimed they heard voices in their sleep, calling them closer. A few ships vanished, drawn into the black without firing a shot. When search parties came, all they found were empty vessels, drifting with no crew aboard. The reports spread fast. Some said the humans had unleashed a new weapon. Others whispered it was something worse, that the battleship itself was alive. Fear turned to paranoia. Fleets fired on shadows. Alliances broke faster than they could form. And through it all, the retribution waited. Inside the battleship, the crew was changing. Their eyes grew pale. Their voices slower. Some forgot their names, their memories. They moved like sleepwalkers, shadows among steel. One officer, young and trembling, dared to question. "Admiral," he whispered, "what is happening to us?" Vale turned to him, his glowing eyes unblinking. "You are becoming more. The ship is making us ready." The young man shook his head. This isn't human." The Admiral's voice was cold. Perhaps it never was. The officer never spoke again. Captain Alara Hayes broke her silence. She used a stolen channel, one hidden deep inside the old communication systems of Earth. It spread her words like wildfire, beyond human space, across every star that still listened. Her voice was clear, steady, though her hands trembled. "The battleship you fear is not ours. It is not human. It is a prison. And something inside it is waking." Her warning raced through the galaxy. Some dismissed it as lies. Others panicked. The Kalari Union declared martial law. The Drakari swarm ordered every ship to return home. But in every empire, whispers began to spread. If the ship was a prison, then what was inside it? Vale heard her broadcast. He sat in silence for hours, the whispers around him louder now, sharper. The ship itself seemed to breathe in anger. Finally, he whispered back, "She knows." The shadows in the walls moved like water. The voice filled his mind. Then she must be silenced. Ilara became a target. Not from the galaxy, but from her own. Human intelligence declared her a traitor, spreading fear with her lies. Agents hunted her. Ships searched every system where she had been seen. But Ilara knew better. It was not betrayal. It was survival. She moved constantly, never staying in one place. Every message she sent was hidden, scattered, but she could not escape the truth. She was only one woman. And Vale had an entire battleship. The next strike came without warning. In the Kalari capital system, every ship in orbit went silent. No blasts, no battles. Just silence. When the defense fleet checked, they found the ships still floating, systems still running. But inside, the crews were gone. Every man, every woman, vanished as if erased. And on the surface of the Kalari homeworld, whispers filled the air. Citizens screamed in madness. Some tore at their own flesh. Others collapsed, their eyes pale as glass. The Empire declared war, but there was no one to fight. Only the shadows moving in the stars. Admiral Vale stood in his chamber, the capsule glowing brighter now. He felt his body weaken, his hands trembling as though he was losing something. But he knew the truth. He was not losing. He was changing. The voice whispered, louder than ever. "The seal is breaking. Soon, I will walk free." Vale closed his eyes, a faint smile on his lips. Then let them tremble. Ilara received the reports. Her heart sank. She knew now the battleship was not only a prison. It was a key. And Vale was turning it. She looked out at the stars, her face pale. The galaxy still thought they feared a ship. But soon, they would learn the truth. The ship was never the threat. The thing inside was. And once it was free, there would be nowhere left to hide. The Retribution drifted closer to the Kalari ruins, its black surface glowing faintly as though alive. Inside, The capsule cracked. The eyes within opened fully. And for the first time, the voice was no longer a whisper. It was a roar. Free.